and I don't want to throw fish in the pool with all these seagulls hanging around and bird flu being an issue. So we'll just do a little bit of hand feeding down here today. And because it's cold and wet and windy, rather than doing the full-on talk, if anyone's got any questions, it probably means you don't have to hang around and get cold and wet listening.
Oh, it's all right, man.
So any questions at all about the penguins, folks, please don't be afraid to ask away.
He's not putting them in the water.
Nah.
Because of bird flu.
Yeah, because the seagulls trying to nick them.
Like fish.
Mm. Oh.
The little ones are getting fed first. Oh, he's got one. Seagull's got one.
Oh, they're good at catching. My lady said you had a lot more. What's happened to the rest of the penguins?
We've had a bit of illness with the king penguins. We've lost 2 to old age and 1 tried to lay an egg and prolapsed and passed away from that.
Oh.
Humboldt penguins, we had 1 pass away recently that swallowed a twig, about that big, that pierced its stomach. We've had a couple with lung problems this time, so we're at the stage now with the Humboldts. We don't know whether we're going to keep with Humboldt penguins or swap to African penguins as potential, because there is a chance I might be able to get 32 African penguins, which is a lot better than 4 Humboldts. So we're just waiting for European penguin breeding approval, whether we can do that or not.
Right.
And then long term, probably won't see king penguins long term because they're not doing very well in zoos at all. So we're coming up with
Any reason for that, or?
they're the slowest breeding bird in the world. So if they breed, they have 1 egg, which takes 2 months to incubate and 1.5 years to rear the chick.
Yeah.
So if you're lucky, you might breed them once every 2 years. The problem we've got is this is a very old group of king penguins now.
Yeah.
They live to a maximum of about 18 years in the wild. These 2 down here are both 29. One at the front's 36. I've got a 21-year-old and a 27-year-old there.
Wow, class.
So we
homage.
but no fertility from the eggs.
Right.
So it just means long term. I mean, we're desperately trying to get hold of more king penguins, but then so is everyone else.
So where do you source them from? Are they from the Antarctic and that,
no,
aren't
you
they?
can't take them from the wild. So
Oh, I know you can't, but I mean, obviously someone's getting them from the Antarctic or wherever, aren't
That's
they?
what they used to do. Sort of, certainly our original founding group of king penguins, sort of 50 years ago, came from the Falklands, but now they're protected. You can't go out there and collect eggs from birds. So anything we bring in will be zoo bred. So it just
right.
King penguins available in Europe at the moment.
So rare them.
So we've just made a contact with the Chinese zoos, whether we can bring in some from there. The American zoos keep a lot of king penguins, so whether they can give us eggs that we can bring in, which should be a lot easier than moving birds around. But we'll have a look, see what we can do. But the owners are investing money in the enclosure. We're redoing the whole pool in the next month or 2.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if they're going to spend money at that, then they want to bring in more penguins.
Of course, I mean, it's all about aesthetics as well, isn't it?
That's it. I mean, as I said, the penguin pool, the windows in the penguin pool are leaking, as you can probably see, but they're the original glass from the penguin pool when we were in the village sort of 40 years ago. So we're having some serious investment on there. So there's no point chucking all that money at it and then only having 4 or 5 penguins. So we will have more of some sort, certainly. Well, they can't fly, so they're probably stretching. So when they go swimming, they use their wings to help them swim. They can't do front crawl or backstroke like we do. So they use their wings like a pair of paddles. So they also use their wings to tell off anybody they don't like.
Of course.
If they want to tell me off, they'll give me a good old slap as well. But one of them broke my wrist about 9 years ago. So it's yes, it's
serious?
I mean,
Hey.
So I will feed the king penguins in a minute. I'm just getting the Humboldt penguins out of the way because although they're smaller, they're a lot feistier. So the idea is to fill them up first, and then I can concentrate on the king penguins in a minute.
How many do they usually eat?
At the moment, they're not eating very much at all. So I've brought 4 each for the king penguins today. Half of last week they weren't even eating that much, but when they're thinking about breeding in the next 3 or 4 months they might be on, instead of 4 each, they might be on 15 each.
Wow.
And then going in the pool and having a feed in there as well. But
Wow.
it really does vary throughout the year. But they're looking, I mean, I've had the last couple of days off, but they're looking hungry at the moment. They're quite likely to have 1 or 2 each and then walk away again.
So the little ones have more.
They're eating a lot more, but they're not overly fond of the cold weather because they are more of a South American penguin, so they're designed for warm weather, so they'll cope in the cold. But whereas the king penguins, this is still quite tropical compared to what they'd be in.
Yeah, of course. Minus what, 300 and that.
He's had enough, that one. They're quite patient, the king penguins.
Sometimes, yeah. So this time, if they were really hungry, I'd have all 7 trying to get every fish come out of the bucket, and the 6 that aren't getting it are pushing and shoving. But this time of year it's pretty chilled out, to be fair. So.
Yeah.
Have you had any of the king ones breeding in the past? Have you had?
All but one of the king penguins have hatched here. So I've hand-reared Spike, who is the second from the end. I hand-reared him a few years ago. But they've all hatched here of the kings, apart from Maggie, who hatched in Denmark 7 years ago. And when she was made available to the breeding programme, my hand went up to
They've all got names.
They've all got names, yeah. I mean, ideally, to recognise them, they should all be wearing coloured wing tags. But even though it's really late in the year, they're doing a lot of flirting at the moment, which they shouldn't really be doing in December, January. But
it's the weather though, isn't it? It's all messed up.
yeah, they're saying, because we've had 1 frost this winter, whereas normally the whole of December's frosty. So
Yeah, exactly.
the crested pigeons have got at least 4 eggs in the aviary at the end of the road just down there. The emus are laying eggs at the moment. So these guys are flirting, and because they pair up differently every year, they're fighting and they're knocking their tags off every 5 minutes.
Right.
And,
Have we got male and female here then?
We've got 3 girls, 4 boys for the king penguins, and it's 2 of each with the Humboldts right now.
Cool.
But the king penguins, when they're pairing up, it's not worth being beaten up by a randy penguin to try and get a tag on it. Particularly if they'll knock the tag off 5 minutes later. So I'm in the fortunate position that I've done this for 20 years, so I'm in here 10 times a week at least.
And you recognise
So
them
you
all?
can recognise them all by sight and by personality.
Of course.
If I were to get wiped out by a bus, they're all microchipped, so we can scan them and work out who they are anyway. But they don't like the scanner and they run away if they see that. But yeah, with the little ones, they've all got different markings of black spots on the tummy. But then we've got Ron's the big one, Molly's the scruffy one on her back. Thor has got a couple of white feathers on top of his head, and Arya is normally the scaredy cat. She runs away first.
Oh, that'll be you, Mary.
Bob at the end, he looks like the fat one, but where he's arthritic, he leans back and his pot belly hangs out.
I know that
He's not
feeling.
actually that fat. He's one of the lightest ones here, but he looks tubby.
He's got arthritis.
He's going to get his pain.
Go on.
Just there. So he'll get his painkillers in a minute. Lily's the small one, and she got pecked by the big male Humboldt on the beak a few months ago, so her beak's still quite scabby to this day. Spike's got the longest beak out of everybody here. Bill's got the shortest beak out of everyone here. Frank always looks half asleep just because he's really chilled out. Maggie's got a yellowy green tinge on top of her head, and because she hatched in Denmark and she thinks she's a Viking, she's the only one that stomps everywhere. And then Seth, when he goes to walk, he swaggers, but that's because he's very old. He's now the oldest male king penguin in Europe.
How old's he again?
He's 36 now.
Wow.
So twice age he's hit in the wild, but we like to say he's quite good because he's the last surviving penguin from the movie Batman Returns.
All right.
Genuine DC superhero villain. So
Class, there you go.
Batman in a movie. So,
Oh, wow,
so
Yeah, man.
He sways from side to side, which no one else
Yeah.
does. So,
Yeah, I like me Detective Comics and me Marvel, like.
yeah, they've just released a whole new load of Lego Batman
So
sets.
who's in the movie?
They have got a Lego penguin character with little model penguins in the set, so you could say he's got his own Lego figure now.
Yeah, man.
wow.
Quality.
Very, very
He's
cool.
in the movie.
Can you hear that ringing?
Oh, look, he did one his fifth, so what?
That's his painkillers. That's what you've done.
Does he have painkillers in that?
Yeah, painkiller. He's on a bit of cough medicine at the moment as well. He sounded a bit wheezy a couple of days ago, so we always whack him. Lung problems are the biggest problem with penguins. He's on 2 sorts of medicine right now.
How come lung problems then?
Just because they've got big air sacs for swimming, and they get fungal infections in there which close up the air sacs.
Oh, it's like fungal infection, like when people wear masks, they get
they're actually, he's on a human drug at the moment for that infection.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, bless them. Did they eat them whole?
yeah, they've got no teeth, so they can't chew it. So
no
it gets
teeth.
walloped straight down.
It's all true.
So if you see them nodding their heads, they're not agreeing with what I'm saying. They're just working into the stomach a little bit quicker, just so they can digest it and get it out the other end very quickly as well. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of bones in the fish which they can't get rid of like an owl would in a pellet. So they swallow it quickly, digest it quickly, and poo it out very quickly as well.
Yeah.
Is that all they eat fish? Is that their diet?
In the wild, they eat a lot of squid. In 20 years, they've never eaten a squid for me ever, and I've tried that lots of times.
They won't eat it.
So there's a load of vitamins hidden in the fish today, just to balance out what they're not getting in the diet today. I mean, the Humboldts would take a lot of krill as well, which is just a small sort of shrimp. But here, a lot of their natural diet isn't easily available or cheap. So as I say, we hide vitamins in the fish for them every day. And I've tried them with different fish, but they're really quite fussy.
Are they?
They've never eaten well, they'll eat mackerel as a last resort, but if it was 100 mackerel in one of these, they fight over this for an hour or so.
Yeah.
These are herring that I'm giving the king penguins, and then the Humboldt penguins are getting sprats.
Lovely, lovely.
Favourite something.
I've got a company in Grimsby that I phone up every 2 months and I say, can I have 50 boxes of herring? They go out, it comes in from Scotland, and it just goes in my freezer, and then I've got half a box of frosting for tomorrow now. And then the sprats come from Scandinavia. That's a different company delivers them. And then the pelicans are going to get roach, which comes from Poland. There's now such a short supply of roach in Poland that they've banned fishing for roach out there. So the pelicans will be on combination of trout from the local farm. Some of the penguins left over.
He's the oldest one in the UK.
And they'll catch roaches.
Yeah, man.
So you never see a duckling. They'll eat that pretty
well
quick,
looked
so.
after.
Yeah.
So sometimes they're just happy with 1 or 2.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, in the wild, they wouldn't catch food every day. So if someone doesn't eat today, I'm not too worried. Particularly if they've got an egg on their feet, these guys can't swim for 3 or 4 days at least. And obviously they're not working as hard as they would do in the wild for their food, so they're probably, although I exercise them, they're probably a little bit overweight compared to what they should be. So yeah, I mean, to say if someone doesn't eat today, it's not the end of the world, but I've got a little diary that I fill out every day, so let's say if Frank doesn't eat today, I'll put a note in the diary that Frank didn't eat, and I'll try and feed him first tomorrow. But they're pretty good. When they're full, they walk away. When they're hungry, they tend to watch the fish in your hand. So you can generally tell.
Hey!
So they can't speak king penguin. That's here I
Class
am,
that.
boys, on the wrong side of 25 and single. Who'd like to pair up with me?
Is that the noise there, mate?
Unfortunately, the 4 male she's got a choice of. She's got a grandson and a son.
Oh.
And then she's got a 29-year-old male and a 36-year-old male.
Hey, don't mock.
She's got much choice. She's hanging around with her grandson, and by our code of conduct, we can't let them breed because they're so closely related. So they produce an egg and gets destroyed.
Happens all the time, mate.
We don't want him inbreeding, obviously. So
Do they know they're related?
probably not, because her son was hand reared, and then her grandson was also hand reared. So they shouldn't know. No, probably not. But they don't pair for life. All this singing is basically who wants to pair up with me.
For 10 minutes.
So she's building up in a minute. So and the way they're even walking, they're just standing a little bit taller and swaying around a bit more. So he's had lung problems, so he can't sing very well. So he's a bit croaky, as you can hear. So he's the male we want breeding, but he's going to struggle to get a girlfriend with those lung problems. So, but to be fair, this is the first time he's ever shown interest in a girl. He's always followed other boys around with me.
Cool.
So that's an improvement, but not the improvement we want. So. They can fluff their feathers out, yes. They obviously, I mean, these guys are native more to the Falklands and South Georgia, so even if it's tomorrow, if it's -2 or -3, that's still quite warm for these bigger ones.
Yeah.
The Humboldt penguins, if it gets really cold, will go and hide in their nest boxes for a bit more sort of shelter.
These two little ones are still eating.
Mm.
They're all full now.
They're slowing down, definitely. If this was March, they'd be following me absolutely everywhere and tripping me up. But
Yeah, I think when I come last time, they were really active. It was in the sun.
yes, it's in a way it's a nice time of year to come in and feed them. I mean, I'm used to being pecked by them, but if normally I've got someone doing a penguin feeding experience, and when you've got 7 of them, well, 7 2.5 foot tall predators crowding around trying to eat the thing in your hand, it's quite intimidating. But they're
They
very
are
well
predators,
behaved,
aren't they?
to be fair.
They're killers.
I've never had a proper peck from a king penguin in 20 years. I've had a few sort of warning pecks, but nothing serious.
Yeah.
I've had more damage from the Humboldt penguins, to be fair, but they've got a much sharper beak though. So.
He's had 2.
Yeah, he's difficult to feed, so if you can get him to have one, it's easier to get 2 down at the same time.
They love it, don't they, little ones?
How long do they live for in captivity?
Humboldt penguins generally in the wild, these guys live to about 12. There's quite a few in the UK right now, Humboldts who are in their early 30s.
So they live longer
King
here.
penguins
Course.
tend to live to about 18 in the wild.
Get killed or
Say Seth,
starve.
wherever he's gone. Seth down here is now the oldest male in Europe and in Asia at 36 years of age.
They last them longer.
We had one called Missy who passed away 4 years ago now. She was 41. And then there was one passed away in Germany last year at the age of 46, which is as old as I've ever heard any penguin get to. But say obviously here we've got food, we've got no killer whales up in the pool. The vet comes out for an MOT every couple of months anyway, and we'll always catch up 2 or 3 penguins at random just to have a listen to their
Pretty
heart and their
stroke.
breathing. So,
Can we stroke them or not?
Can you stroke them?
no, they bite really hard. It's not particularly good for their feathers,
Oh.
and I want them to give me babies. I don't want them to think they're pets sort of thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
You best not.
I get you. I get you.
How do you handle like arthritis then if they get older?
And we just he gets Metacam and sort of Loxicon painkillers. We try and I mean he does sit still a lot. So when the pool's full, I get him in having a swim. So it's just one of those things. He's one that gets reviewed every sort of 3 months with the vet. And he tends to sit back on his heels more than anything. But we check him for bumblefoot, and he never gets any of that. Touch wood.
Yeah, he's 6, bless him. He's a pensioner, isn't he?
He looks really tubby because he sits so far with his shoulders back. He's actually the lightest male by a good kilo.
Got a bad back.
He has, hasn't he?
I do.
Do they sleep out here or do they go in?
The kings will stay out here.
All night?
They'll generally sleep stood up with the head tucked under the wing. They won't sleep deeply because they're always alert. But they'll stay out here. The Humboldts will generally go and hide in their nest box and will go and sit at the edge of the pool. If they get spooked by something overnight, they'll jump in the water. But about 4 o'clock when we're closed, I'll put an electric fence around anyway, just because there's an otter in the river at the moment. And,
An otter?
yeah, and we've never had problems with him, but I know other zoos have had penguins killed by otters in the past.
Yeah,
So
otters.
it'd be nice as it'd be to see him, but you don't want to see him that much.
No. Don't want him attacking the penguins.
So, no, I mean the kings have beaten up, but the Humboldt, you'd have a go at a Humboldt penguin definitely.
So they can be quite vicious, can they?
Oh yes. I had one king penguin slap me a few years ago, and that broke my wrist. Humboldt penguins, Ron got me good and proper last year during lockdown, and that was 3 trips to the doctors in about 5 days, trying to get the infection away and stuff like that. So.
But they do know you, so they're quite
Oh,
good.
they're used to the keepers. I mean, all the birds recognise the uniform, definitely. And when I've hand-reared a Humboldt and a couple of kings, they recognise my voice and stuff like that. So it takes a lot to annoy them, and generally you can tell what sort of mood they're in pretty
Yeah,
quickly anyway.
their body
so-
language.
Yeah, it's like when you wake up with your lass and she's not in a good mood.
Yeah.
Oh, better make a cup of tea.
Yeah, you can see they're starting to slow down now, certainly. So, we've done pretty well though today, penguins, to be fair.
Nice son. Look at him.
Oh, I love them.
And a beauty. And you a beauty. Lovely. Right.
Yeah.
Then I'll do it.